I returned from the hospital with my body still aching, my legs shaking with every step. The surgical incision burned beneath my clothes. I had spent 11 days there, 11 long days, fighting a severe infection that almost killed me. I fought the fear of never waking up, and I fought the crushing loneliness of those white hospital walls. Not once did anyone come to visit me. Gregory, my son, my only child, never showed up. Michelle, my daughter-in-law, didn't call, didn't text, didn't ask how I was doing. Nothing. When the doctor finally handed me my discharge papers, I had to ask a nurse to call a cab for me. No one was waiting. No one cared. I arrived home with a foolish hope in my heart that maybe I would find a note, a warm meal, some sign that someone had worried about me. I opened the door slowly, holding my small bag of hospital belongings. First, there was silence. Then the shock hit me. There was a second refrigerator in my kitchen. It was large, modern, and shining, placed right next to my old fridge, the one that had served our family faithfully for years. I stood there frozen, staring at it, unable to understand what I was seeing. Gregory walked out of the living room holding a can of beer, acting as if everything was completely normal. Michelle followed him, carrying adhesive labels and a permanent marker. Neither of them even looked at me. "What is this?" I asked, pointing at the new refrigerator. Gregory took a long sip of his beer before answering. "It's our fridge, Mom. For our things." "Our fridge?" I repeated, disbelief flooding my voice. Michelle knelt in front of it and began sticking labels on every shelf, writing her name in large, bold letters. Shelley. 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 On every rack, every drawer, every empty space. "Exactly," she said without turning around. "This is for our groceries, the ones we buy with our money. We don't want them getting mixed up with yours." The floor felt unsteady beneath my feet. My stitches pulled painfully at my skin. It still hurt to breathe deeply. And there they were, claiming territory in my own kitchen. "But, this is my house," I whispered. Gregory let out a dry laugh. "Yeah, Mom, your house. But we live here too, remember? And honestly, with your meager social security, you can't afford the things we like. So we decided to get better organized." Michelle stood up and admired her work. Each label felt like a slap across my face. "Don't take offense, Eleanor," she said casually. "It's just practical. You buy your food with your money. We buy ours with ours. That way, there are no mix-ups." "Mix-ups?" My voice cracked. "I have never denied you anything from my fridge. Ever." "We know," Gregory said, crushing the empty can in his hand. "But this is better. More orderly. More fair." Fair. The word echoed in my mind like a broken bell. I looked at my old, half-empty fridge, then at their new one, full, overflowing. Two worlds, divided. Two realities separated by an invisible but brutal line. The ones who mattered, and the ones who were barely surviving. The valuable and the disposable. Besides, Michelle continued, opening the new fridge to show me the inside, "We have certain standards. We don't like eating the same things you do. No offense." "No offense," said as if those words could soften the cruelty. Gregory stepped closer and patted my shoulder, his touch condescending. "Relax, Mom. It's nothing personal. It's just that, well, you're not young anymore. Your pension barely covers the basics. We need more. We deserve more." Deserve. That word cut deeper than anything else. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell them how I had worked 35 years in a factory, destroying my back to give Gregory everything he needed. I wanted to remind them how I sold my mother's jewelry to pay for his private college tuition. I wanted to cry and ask how they could treat me like this after everything I had done. But I said nothing. My body was exhausted. My heart was shattered. The stitches throbbed, reminding me how close I had come to dying. I didn't have the strength to fight. I'm going to rest, I murmured, dragging my bag toward the small room in the back. Sure, Mom. Rest up, Gregory said, already turning back toward the television. Michelle closed her fridge with a satisfied thud. The sound echoed through the kitchen, through the house, and straight into my chest. The small back room was barely big enough for a twin bed and an old wardrobe. It used to be my sewing room. Now it was my exile. Gregory and Michelle had moved in a year ago. Just until we find something better, they had said. They never did. Instead, they slowly took over everything, first my bedroom, then the living room, then every corner of what used to be my home. And I allowed it. Out of love. Out of fear of being alone. Out of the foolish hope that things would get better. I sat on the bed and finally let the tears fall, hot, bitter, silent tears. From the living room, I heard their laughter. The television blared. The new fridge opened and closed. Wine glasses clinked. They were celebrating. Celebrating what? I didn't know. Maybe they were celebrating finally putting me in my place. Maybe they were celebrating not having to pretend anymore. Maybe they were celebrating that the old woman, the nuisance, had accepted her fate without a fight. I lay down slowly, every muscle aching. I closed my eyes but couldn't sleep. The images replayed like a cruel film, the labeled fridge, Michelle's smug smile, Gregory's cold indifference, their words cutting into me again and again. Your meager pension. We don't want to mix our things with yours. You're not young anymore. We deserve more. Each sentence was another nail in the coffin of our relationship. In that moment, I finally accepted the truth I had long avoided. To them, I was no longer a mother. I was a burden. Dead weight. Someone to exploit until there was nothing left. And the worst part was knowing I had allowed it, year after year, insult after insult, humiliation after humiliation. But something shifted inside me that night. Something broke, and something else awakened. Lying on that narrow bed in that dark room, in a house that no longer felt like mine, a decision slowly took shape. Firm. Unavoidable. They had made a terrible mistake. They thought I was weak. They thought I had given up. They thought there would be no consequences. They were wrong. When morning came, they would see something they would never forget. They would learn who Eleanor Hayes truly was, and that lesson would cost them everything. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those labels. Shelley. 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 Like brands burned into flesh. Like claims over something that was never theirs. I stared at the cracked ceiling, listening to their laughter drift through the house. They were drinking wine, enjoying their small victory over what they believed was a worthless old woman. 68 years old. A lifetime of work. And this was my reward. The tears kept falling, but they were no longer just sadness. They were rage. Dignity. A fire that had been buried for years and was finally waking up. I remembered Gregory's birth 42 years ago. I was 26. Bernard worked construction, and I worked at the factory. We lived in a tiny apartment, but we were happy, or so I thought. Gregory was our miracle after 3 losses. I protected him like glass. When Bernard died 15 years ago from a sudden heart attack at work, I thought my life was over. Gregory was 27. He promised to take care of me. You'll never want for anything, Mom. I'll always be here. Lies. All of it. The first years after Bernard's death were hard, but manageable. Gregory visited, helped around the house, took me shopping. Then Michelle arrived 8 years ago, like a storm. Beautiful. Confident. Ambitious. She worked in cosmetics sales but lived like an executive. Expensive clothes. Perfect nails. Hair always styled at the most exclusive salons. From the beginning, I saw something cold in her eyes. A constant calculation. She looked at me not with care, but with measurement. Assessing what I was worth. What she could take. She's a little intense, I once told Gregory, trying to be gentle. You're just jealous, Mom, he replied immediately. Michelle is amazing. She's exactly what I need. Jealous? No. Worried, I corrected silently. But he refused to hear it. They got married only 6 months after meeting. It was an expensive wedding, and I helped pay for it because he was my only son and I wanted him to have the best. $10,000 from my savings, money I had protected for years by working overtime at the factory. We'll pay it back, Mom, as soon as we're settled, Gregory promised. I never saw a single cent returned. After the wedding, their visits became rare. Phone calls grew short. But the requests for money never stopped, only multiplied. Mom, we need $1,000 for the apartment deposit. Mom, the car broke down. We need $3,000 for repairs. Mom, Michelle needs urgent dental work. That's $5,000. Everything was always urgent. Always necessary. And if I hesitated, the guilt followed immediately. You don't want your son to have a decent roof over his head? You'd rather we drive a dangerous car? Do you really want Michelle to suffer with a toothache? So I paid. Again and again. Because he was my son. Because a mother's love has no limits. Because I was terrified that if I ever said no, they would disappear from my life forever. When I retired 2 years ago, I thought I could finally rest. 35 years in the factory had left me with arthritis in my hands, constant back pain, and a modest Social Security check of $800 a month. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Bernard, my late husband, had left me this small, fully paid house in a quiet neighborhood. It was my refuge. My safety. Then the pandemic came and everything changed. Gregory lost his sales job. Michelle lost hers too. Suddenly, they were at my door with suitcases. It's temporary, Mom, they said. Just until we get back on our feet. A couple of months. A couple of months became a year. And during that year, everything slowly rotted. At first, they helped with expenses. They bought groceries. They paid some bills. But little by little, that stopped. We're looking for work, Mom. It's hard out there. We barely have enough for ourselves. Yet Michelle kept buying new clothes. Gregory kept ordering craft beers. They went out for expensive dinners while I survived on eggs and toast. Then came the takeover. First, the master bedroom. We need more space, Mom. You can sleep in the small room. It's cozier. Cozier. What a cruel word for that tiny box. Then the living room. We'll put our new TV here. Yours is too old. My television worked perfectly. But theirs arrived anyway, huge, loud, and invasive. Then the kitchen. Michelle reorganized everything. She threw away my old pots. These are hideous, Eleanor. So embarrassing. Those were the pots I had cooked with Gregory's entire childhood. The ones Bernard had given me for our first anniversary. I saw them in the trash and said nothing. I swallowed the pain, just as I had swallowed everything else. The money demands continued, but now they were harsher. Mom, lend me $2,000 for a course. It'll help me get a job. Mom, Michelle needs a new phone. Hers doesn't work. That's $1,000. Mom, we have to pay the credit card bill or we'll get sued. Every hesitation triggered emotional blackmail. After everything I've done for you. Any real mother would do this. If you really loved me, you wouldn't hesitate. And the worst one, spoken by Michelle with a venomous smile. One day, we'll be the ones taking care of you, Eleanor. You'd better be generous now. Generous. I had been so generous that I had almost nothing left. My savings disappeared. $30,000, decades of sacrifice, gone in just 2 years. Spent on luxuries, whims, and lies disguised as needs. 3 months ago, I tried to check an emergency savings account Bernard had set up. It held $8,000, my last reserve. It was empty. What happened to the emergency account? I asked Gregory, shaking. He barely looked up from his phone. Oh, I used that to pay off some debts. I was going to tell you. How did you access it? That account was only mine. You gave me the key years ago, Mom. Don't you remember? I didn't remember. Maybe I had trusted him once. Maybe he had taken it without asking. It didn't matter. The money was gone. Debts for what? I asked. Things. Expenses. Don't worry about it. Don't worry, spoken as if I were a child who understood nothing. That night, I cried until there were no tears left. I cried for Bernard, who had worked so hard to leave me secure. I cried for myself, for allowing all of this. I cried for the son I thought I had, the one who no longer existed. And now, after 11 days in the hospital, fighting for my life alone, I came home to this. A divided fridge. Labels that screamed contempt. Proof of what I already knew. To them, I was garbage. A drained resource. Someone to exploit until nothing remained. I sat on the bed and took a deep breath, ignoring the pain in my stitches. Something inside me had changed. The Eleanor who always gave in, who always forgave, who always put her son first, had died in that hospital bed. The woman who came back was different. Harder. Clearer. Stronger. They wanted a war. They would get one. But not tonight. That night, I needed rest. I needed thought. I needed a plan. Sleep came heavy and dark, filled with dreams where I was strong, and they were the ones crying. When morning came, everything would change. I woke before dawn, at 5 o'clock. The house was silent. Gregory and Michelle were still asleep in my bedroom, in my marriage bed, under sheets I had bought with my first retirement check. I moved slowly. The stitches pulled, but the pain no longer frightened me. There were worse pains than physical ones. I walked into the kitchen like a ghost. The new fridge gleamed in the darkness. Those cursed labels reflected faint light. Shelley. 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 I opened my old fridge. Milk. 3 eggs. Cheap cheese. Day-old bread. That was all. Then I opened theirs. It was full. Overflowing. Imported steaks. Salmon. Shrimp. French cheeses. Wines worth over $50 a bottle. Exotic fruits. Gourmet pastries. I closed the door, sick with rage. They ate like royalty while I survived on scraps. They indulged in luxury with my money, under my roof. I sat at the table with a glass of water and thought. I could kick them out, it was my house. But Gregory had made me sign something 6 months ago. It's just to update the will, Mom. I signed without reading. I trusted him. What had I really signed? I didn't know, and that terrified me. I could leave. Disappear. But with what money? I could confront them, but they would twist everything, just like always. No. Not this time. Footsteps upstairs. They were waking. I retreated to my small room and pretended to sleep, listening to their voices, their arguments, their indifference. No one checked on me. When they left around 9, the house was filthy. I cleaned automatically, like I always had. Through the window, I saw my neighbor Beverly Jenkins watering her plants. 71. A widow. Alone, but peaceful. She waved. I waved back weakly. Then she put down her watering can and walked toward my house. And for the first time, I felt that something, finally, was about to change. She knocked on the door. I hesitated, not wanting anyone to see me like this, broken, humiliated, exhausted. but something inside me pushed me to open it. Eleanor. Hello, Beverly said, her smile warm and comforting. I saw you got back from the hospital yesterday. How are you doing? How was I doing? Such a simple question, yet impossible to answer. I'm getting better, I lied. Beverly studied me with those wise eyes, eyes that seemed to have seen too much of life. May I come in for a minute? I don't know why I said yes. Perhaps because I needed someone to talk to who wasn't Gregory or Michelle. Perhaps because her gaze reminded me of something I had long forgotten, genuine compassion. We went into the kitchen. Beverly immediately noticed the two fridges. Her eyes widened slightly. That's new, she said, trying to sound neutral. It's for my son and daughter-in-law, I explained, feeling the heat of shame on my cheeks. For their things. Beverly didn't respond immediately. She simply observed the labels, Michelle's name repeated on every shelf. Then she looked at me directly. Eleanor, forgive me for being blunt, but I need to tell you something I've been holding in for months. My heart started racing. What is it? Your son and daughter-in-law, Beverly began, her voice soft but firm. I hear them sometimes. The walls aren't that thick. I hear how. Last night, Beverly continued, when you came home from the hospital, I heard everything. About the fridge, your pension, your groceries. Tears began to fall before I could stop them. And I heard something else. Beverly moved closer and placed her hand over mine. After you went to sleep, I kept listening. What did they say? I whispered, part of me wanting to look away. They were celebrating, toasting with wine. And Michelle said something that chilled me to the bone. She said, it won't be long now. The old lady can't last much longer. When she passes, this house will be ours. It's worth at least $200,000. We can sell it and finally live well. The world stopped spinning. Beverly squeezed my hand. Gregory laughed and said, I hope she hurries up. I'm tired of pretending to care. Something inside me shattered, not my heart, that was already in pieces. Something deeper, more fundamental. All the illusions, all the hope that my son still loved me beneath the cruelty, it was gone. There's more, Beverly said. I've seen strange things. 2 weeks ago, I saw Gregory leaving the bank with papers, looking nervous. And Michelle, she's been receiving large boxes. Expensive ones. She brings them in when you're not around. What kind of boxes? I asked, my mind racing. I don't know, she admitted. But they look costly. There are many of them. Something clicked in my mind. What were they hiding? What else had they concealed from me? Eleanor, Beverly said, looking me seriously in the eyes, you have to investigate. You need to find out what they're really doing. I have a feeling it's much worse than you imagine. She was right. I knew it in my bones. I don't know how, I admitted. I don't know where to start. I'll help you, she said. I have a friend, Arthur Dawson. Retired lawyer, but still active. He helps with cases like this, family abuse. Family abuse. The words hit me. That was exactly what this was, abuse, exploitation, manipulation. Would you talk to him? Beverly asked. I thought of Gregory, of all the times I had trusted him and been betrayed. I thought of Michelle, her fake smiles, her fridge labels, her venomous words. I thought of myself, the woman I was, the woman I deserved to be. Yes, I said finally, my voice firmer than it had been in years. Yes, I'll talk to him. Beverly smiled. Good. I'll call him now. He can come this afternoon while they're out. She pulled out her phone and dialed, speaking in a low voice as she explained everything. Every word made me feel more real, more validated, more seen. When she hung up, she looked at me with determination. He'll be here at 3. Bring everything you have, bank statements, documents, anything you've signed. Everything. I nodded. For the first time in years, a flicker of hope warmed me. Beverly stood, preparing to leave, but first she hugged me, a strong, maternal embrace. The kind I hadn't received since Bernard died. "You're not alone, Eleanor. Not anymore." When she left, I remained in the kitchen, staring at the fridges. But now, they looked different. No longer symbols of humiliation, they were evidence. Evidence of cruelty, of abuse, of systematic exploitation. Soon, they would be proof I could use to reclaim my life. The hours until 3 dragged. I moved through the house like a detective in my own home, hunting for papers, for anything that could serve as evidence. I started with my room, what used to be my room. The master bedroom now belonged entirely to Gregory and Michelle. Entering it felt like invading enemy territory. The room smelled of Michelle's expensive perfume. The bed was unmade, clothes scattered everywhere, and boxes lined the walls, the same boxes Beverly had mentioned. Shoes, purses, designer clothes, hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars hidden from me. I opened the closet. More new clothes, all with tags attached. Michelle had at least 20 pairs of high-heeled shoes, each over $300. Gregory had 4 brand-name watches in a special box. One looked like a fake Rolex, but even good replicas cost over $1,000. How could they have all this if they were supposedly unemployed? If they couldn't afford household expenses? I checked Gregory's nightstand drawers, chargers, headphones, crumpled receipts. Expensive restaurants, bars, online purchases. One receipt was from a casino, $500 lost in a single night 3 weeks ago. I slipped the receipts into my pocket and moved to Michelle's drawer. Credit card statements. 3 different cards, all with huge debts. $20,000 on one, $8,000 on another, $5,000 on the third. $33,000 in credit card debt. But then I found a card I didn't recognize. My name, Eleanor Hayes, on it. Credit limit $10,000. Current balance, $9,950. I had never applied for this card. None of the charges were mine. Furniture, electronics, clothing, restaurants, travel, all signed in my name. Gregory had opened a card in my name and maxed it out. Fraud. A crime. I kept searching. More papers. Contracts, loan documents, all with my signature. When had I signed these? I remembered, Gregory always put papers in front of me. Sign here, Mom. Insurance. Sign here, Mom. House registration. Sign here for the bank. I had signed everything, blindly trusting him. He had used that trust to bury me in debt, to rob me, to destroy my finances. One document made me catch my breath, an application for a $50,000 home equity loan against my house. It was pending, but the intention was clear. Cruel. They wanted the house now, not wait for my death. I gathered all the papers and hid them under the mattress in the small room. My heart pounded violently. Then I collected my own documents, the ones I kept in a cookie tin. Bank statements, pension receipts, medical bills. I reviewed the last 6 months carefully. Transfers I didn't recognize. Withdrawals I hadn't made. Small amounts that added up to thousands. Automatic charges, premium streaming services, exclusive gyms, gourmet food apps, all in my name. Nearly $20,000 taken in 6 months. The manipulation was perfect. Systematic. Calculated. At 2:30, I organized everything into a folder, evidence of fraud, theft, financial elder abuse. Because that's who I was now, a senior citizen being exploited by her own family. At exactly 3 o'clock, Beverly knocked. She was accompanied by a tall man in his 60s, gray hair perfectly combed, eyes intelligent and kind. "Eleanor, this is Arthur." "Arthur, this is Eleanor," Beverly said. Arthur extended his hand. Firm, warm. "A pleasure, Eleanor." Beverly told me everything. "I want you to know, I'm here to help, completely free of charge." This is personal for me, Arthur said. Personal? I asked, gesturing for him and Beverly to sit at the kitchen table. My mother went through something similar years ago, he explained, his face shadowed by memory. My brother financially exploited her until she was left with nothing. By the time we discovered it, it was too late. She died feeling betrayed and ruined. I swore I would help anyone else in her situation, to honor her memory. His words struck me deep. I wasn't alone. Other families had lived this. Other mothers had been betrayed by their children. Show me what you found, Arthur said, pulling out a notepad. I laid everything out carefully, the bank statements, the fraudulent credit cards, the unauthorized loans, receipts for excessive expenses, and the home equity loan application. Arthur reviewed each document with meticulous attention. His expression hardened with every paper. This is serious, Eleanor. Very serious. What your son has done, it constitutes multiple felonies, identity fraud, theft, financial elder abuse, forgery. Can he go to jail? I asked, a mix of horror and satisfaction in my voice. He could, Arthur said. If you file criminal charges. But first, we need to discuss your options. He took out a pen and started listing them. Option 1, family confrontation. You show them what you know, demand they stop, and negotiate repayment. Fast, but it rarely works. Abusers deny, manipulate, and often continue. I nodded. I knew that was true. Gregory would lie. Michelle would cry and guilt me. Option 2, civil action. You sue them for what was stolen, request restraining orders, force repayment plus damages. It takes time, 6 months, maybe a year, but you eventually recover your money. Option 3, Arthur said, looking me directly in the eyes, criminal action. You file charges for fraud. Police investigate. With enough evidence, which you have here, your son and daughter-in-law could face criminal charges, jail time, permanent records, severe consequences. Silence fell over the kitchen. Beverly squeezed my hand. You don't have to decide now, Arthur said softly. But if you need to act quickly, look at this. He pointed to the home equity loan application. If this goes through, you could lose your house. We need to block it immediately. How? I asked. Tomorrow morning, we go to the bank. Cancel all authorizations you've given Gregory. Change your passwords. Freeze your credit so no new accounts can be opened in your name. We alert the bank about the fraud and dispute unauthorized charges. Finally, we put the house into a trust to protect your property. It sounded overwhelming, almost impossible. I know it's a lot, Arthur said, reading my thoughts. But I'll guide you. Every step. You are not alone. And in the meantime? I asked, my voice tight. They keep living here. They keep robbing me. That's your choice, he said. Legally, you can start an eviction process as the homeowner, but it takes weeks. Or you can confront them immediately. Show them you know everything, and demand they leave. The idea both terrified and thrilled me. What would you do? I asked. Arthur paused. Document everything first. Take photos, boxes, clothes, fridge labels. Gather all evidence. Only when everything is legally protected do you confront them. From a position of strength, not weakness. It made perfect sense. Is there anything else? I asked. Beverly mentioned she overheard Michelle say they were waiting for your death to take the house, Arthur said. I nodded, the pain still sharp. That kind of comment is important in court, he added. Especially in cases of elder abuse with intent to exploit. It's an aggravating factor. How do we prove she said it? I asked. I can testify, Beverly said quietly. I heard everything clearly. Perfect, Arthur said. An independent witness strengthens the case immensely. We spent the next 2 hours reviewing everything. Arthur made copies, listed immediate actions, and mapped out each step. When we finished, I felt different. Stronger. Clearer. For the first time in years, I felt I had control over my life. Arthur and Beverly left around 5. Gregory and Michelle would be home soon. I carefully packed all the original documents into a bag and gave it to Beverly for safekeeping. I couldn't risk them finding it. At 6 o'clock, the car pulled into the driveway. I heard voices, laughter, the door opening. I took a deep breath and stepped out of the small room. It was time to begin. Gregory and Michelle walked in carrying shopping bags from expensive stores, brands I could never afford. They laughed about something in the car, unaware I was watching. They saw me. Instantly, their laughter died. "Hey, Mom," Gregory said flatly. "What are you doing standing there?" "We need to talk," I replied, my voice steady. Michelle rolled her eyes. "We're tired. Long day. Shopping." "This is important," I insisted. Gregory sighed, exasperated. "Fine. What is it?" I wanted to yell everything I had discovered, throw the papers in their faces. But I remembered Arthur's words: document, protect, then confront. From strength. "I want us to go to the bank tomorrow," I said, choosing my words carefully. "The bank? For what?" Gregory dropped the bags onto the sofa. "To check my accounts," I said. "Some charges I don't recognize." I saw something flicker in Gregory's eyes: fear. Guilt. It vanished so fast I almost doubted I'd seen it. "They're probably your medications, Mom." "Or utilities," he said. "No. Large transfers," I replied. "I want to review everything with you." Michelle crossed her arms. "Eleanor, don't insult Gregory. He's been helping you manage your finances because you don't understand it." "You don't understand it?" I repeated. Another way of saying I was stupid, incapable, useless. "That's why I want to go to the bank, to understand better," I said, keeping my composure. Gregory exchanged a look with Michelle. Something unspoken passed between them. "I can't go tomorrow. I have a job interview," he said quickly. "Where?" "At a tech company. Very important. I can't cancel." A lie. His eyes avoided mine, his hands fidgeting nervously. "Then the day after tomorrow," I proposed. "God, what a hassle," Michelle muttered, opening her labeled fridge and pulling out a bottle of expensive wine. "If you have doubts, check your statement online." "Gregory taught you how?" "He taught me to log in with his phone," I said firmly. "I prefer to go in person." "Geez, what a pain," Michelle muttered as she returned with 2 glasses of wine. She handed one to Gregory. "They didn't even offer me one." They drank in front of me, as if celebrating something. "You know what, Mom?" Gregory said after a long swallow. "You're being ungrateful after everything we've done for you." "Everything we've done for me." The words hit harder than I expected. "Yes, we live here to take care of you," he continued. "We could be in our own place, living our lives, but no, we're here, putting up with things, sacrificing ourselves. Sacrificing yourselves in my house, eating my food, spending my money." "No one asked you to stay," I said softly. The silence that followed was thick, dangerous. Michelle slammed her glass on the table. "You know what? I'm sick of your attitude, Eleanor. You came back from the hospital yesterday with that martyr look, acting like we're the villains in your story." "I never said you don't have to," I whispered. "We can see it in how you look at us, how you talk, as if we owe you something." "I gave you everything," I said, the tears threatening. "Everything." Michelle laughed, a cruel, bitter laugh. "You gave Gregory a mediocre childhood in a forgettable neighborhood. You raised him with limits, with a poor mentality. We've had to work twice as hard to overcome all that." Every word was a stab. Gregory didn't speak, he just drank, looking away. I broke my back working to give him the best, I said, tears spilling. The best, please, Michelle sneered. The best would have been giving him real opportunities, connections, a better life. But instead, you filled him with guilt and obligation. Enough, Gregory murmured, but his voice lacked conviction. It's time she heard the truth. Eleanor, you are a burden. You always have been. Gregory is too nice to tell you, but I'm not. Living here is a huge sacrifice. Tolerating you is exhausting. The tears fell freely. If it's such a sacrifice, I said through sobs, you can leave whenever you want. Gregory set down his glass and approached me, serious. Mom, this is our house as much as it's yours. Dad would have wanted it this way, a family house. Your father left it to me because he assumed you would share it with your family. With us. His tone left no room for discussion. Michelle gathered the shopping bags. I'm going to put these away. Greg, help me. I watched them go upstairs, their expensive purchases in tow. The door to my former bedroom closed behind them. I was alone in the living room, trembling. The confrontation had gone worse than I imagined. They hadn't admitted anything, they had twisted the truth, made me feel guilty. But something had changed. I no longer doubted myself. Michelle's words had been crystal clear, I was a burden, a nuisance, someone to tolerate until I died. I went to the small room and pulled out my phone. I texted Beverly, I need to go to the bank first thing tomorrow. Can Arthur still come with us? The reply came instantly, of course. We'll pick you up at 8. I put the phone away and sat on the bed. Upstairs, I heard their voices, probably laughing at me, the foolish old woman finally realizing the truth. But I wasn't foolish anymore. Tomorrow, I would start taking back what was mine. I didn't eat dinner that night. I wasn't hungry. I went to bed early, listening to their footsteps, the television, their occasional laughter. I closed my eyes and thought of Bernard, how he had worked so hard to protect me, how disappointed he would be to see his son like this. Forgive me, Bernard, I whispered. They destroyed what you built, but I'm going to fix it. I promise. For the first time in months, I slept soundly. The war had begun, and this time I wouldn't lose. I woke at 6 a.m. The house was still dark and silent. Gregory and Michelle were asleep, recovering from another bottle of wine. I dressed carefully, choosing my best clothes, an outfit I had bought for Bernard's funeral. I wanted to look dignified, strong, not like the weak, sick woman they thought I was. By 7:30, I was ready. I grabbed my purse with the few documents I had kept, the rest were safe at Beverly's house. Upstairs, I heard movement. Gregory was waking. I went to the kitchen and made coffee, acting normal, as if nothing had happened, as if their cruel words hadn't shattered me. Morning, Gregory said, hair messy, voice husky. Good morning. Coffee? I asked. Yeah, thanks. He sat, checking his phone. I poured him a cup, my hand steady, my mind clear. You going out? He asked. I have a doctor's appointment, a post-op checkup. A lie, but necessary, I reminded myself. Ah, you want me to take you? No. Beverly is taking me. We arranged it. Gregory nodded and went back to his phone. At exactly 8 o'clock, a car horn sounded. Beverly had arrived. I'm leaving now, I announced, picking up my purse. Take care, Mom, Gregory said without looking up. I walked out, every step a small liberation. The cool morning air filled my lungs. Morning, Eleanor, Beverly greeted warmly. Ready? Arthur asked from the passenger seat. Ready, I said, climbing into the back. The bank was 20 minutes away. On the way, Arthur outlined the plan, speak with the manager, explain the fraud, request all transactions from the last 2 years, cancel Gregory's authorizations, change passwords, and set up security alerts. It sounded simple when he said it, but my stomach twisted with nerves. We arrived just as the bank opened. Arthur went straight to the customer service desk. "We need to speak with the branch manager." "It's urgent, bank fraud," he said. A professional young woman led us to Marcus Johnson, the branch manager, a man in his 50s, gray suit, kind expression. Arthur explained, then it was my turn. My voice shook at first, then strengthened as I recounted everything: unauthorized loans, credit cards opened in my name, mysterious transfers. Marcus listened carefully, notes taking, expression darkening. "Do you have documents?" he asked. I placed the copies on his desk. "This is very serious," he said. "You'll need to fill a formal fraud report. We'll review all your accounts immediately." An hour passed as we went through transactions. Marcus's face grew graver with each irregularity. "Ms. Hayes," he said finally, "there are large transfers to unknown accounts, withdrawals from distant ATMs, recurring charges for services you never contracted. In the last 2 years, about $42,000 has been stolen from your accounts." $42,000. I felt dizzy. Beverly held my arm. Marcus continued. "There's a home equity loan for $50,000, 2 weeks ago, using your house as collateral. Signature looks forged. Gregory had copied my documents." "Forgery. Felony." Arthur nodded. "We will file criminal charges." Marcus froze the loan, removed Gregory's access to my accounts, canceled unauthorized credit cards, disputed debts, and launched a fraud investigation. 3 hours later, we left the bank. I carried a thick folder of evidence, copies, reports, statements, proof of every crime. Beverly hugged me. "You did so well, Eleanor." Arthur said, "This is only the beginning. Now comes the hard part, confronting them." "When?" I asked. "When you're ready. But soon, before they discover you went to the bank," he advised. I looked out the window at families living normal lives, children laughing, parents loving. "I want to do it today," I said. "Tonight, when they get back from work, or wherever they go to pretend to work." We returned home around noon. Gregory and Michelle were still out. Beverly and Arthur came in with me. They looked around the house, the 2 fridges with Michelle's name on them, the designer boxes scattered across the master bedroom, the expensive clothes, the shiny new appliances. "All of this," Arthur said, gesturing broadly, "was bought with stolen money. It's all evidence." He pulled out his phone and began photographing everything: the fridges, the boxes of shoes and purses, the receipts we had collected. "We need to document the lifestyle they maintain versus the income they claim. This proves it's all illicit." The afternoon passed in meticulous preparation. Arthur made notes, listing key points. Beverly brewed tea and insisted I eat something. By 5 o'clock, the plan was set. At 6, the car pulled into the driveway. Beverly and Arthur positioned themselves in the living room, ready. I stood at the door, heart pounding. Gregory and Michelle walked in, laughing. Their smiles froze the instant they saw us. "What's going on here?" Gregory asked, voice defensive. "Sit down," I said, my voice firmer than I had imagined. "We need to talk." "Mom, what is this?" "Who is he?" Michelle gestured toward Arthur. "I am Arthur Dawson, legal counsel for Ms. Hayes," he said calmly. The color drained from Gregory's face. "Counsel? Mom, what did you do?" I took a deep breath. This was it. The moment of truth. "I found out everything, Gregory." "Everything." A heavy silence fell. Gregory and Michelle froze, faces shifting from shock to confusion, then to poorly disguised fear. "Found out what?" Michelle demanded, trying to sound outraged, but her voice cracked. Arthur rose, calm and commanding. "Mr. Gregory Hayes, Ms. Michelle Hayes, you are being accused of financial fraud, theft, forgery, and elder abuse." Gregory let out a nervous laugh. "What? This is ridiculous." "Mom, what did you tell them?" "The truth," I said. The truth you've been hiding. What truth? I haven't hidden anything. Arthur opened his briefcase, pulling out documents and laying them on the coffee table one by one. Capital One credit card, in the name of Eleanor Hayes, opened March 15 last year. Current balance, $14,800. Did you authorize this card, Ms. Hayes? No, I said firmly. That's a bank error. Gregory shouted. I was going to tell you, Mom. When? When you couldn't pay it anymore? Arthur continued. Citibank personal loan, $5,000, requested in the name of Eleanor Hayes 1 year ago. Transferred to the account of Gregory Hayes. Did you authorize this loan? No, I said again. Michelle stepped forward, voice sharp. Eleanor, you're confused. You signed those papers. We explained everything to you. You explained it to me? I snapped. When you put papers in front of me and told me to sign without reading. That's what you call explaining. That's a lie, Beverly interjected, her voice steady. I heard them. I know how they operate. Michelle turned her glare on Beverly, pure venom. You nosy old bat. This is your fault. You put ideas in her head. No one put anything in my head, I said quietly. You showed me who you really are. Arthur lifted another document. Home equity loan application against 1222 Magnolia Street. Forged signature. Federal crime. Gregory went pale. That loan, it was for investment, for all of us. For all of us? I repeated, voice rising. You didn't even visit me in the hospital. You came back and put a separate fridge in here because my food wasn't good enough for you. Michelle screamed. It has everything to do with it. It shows exactly how you see me, as garbage, something to exploit until I die. No one said that. Gregory tried to interject, but Arthur stepped forward. Yes, they did, Beverly said calmly. I heard it. The night she returned from the hospital, Michelle told Gregory, it won't be long now. When the old lady passes, this house will be ours. It's worth $200,000. Michelle turned on Beverly, furious. That's a lie. I never said that. You did, Beverly said evenly. And Gregory replied, I hope she hurries up. I'm tired of pretending to care. The words hit like bullets. Gregory opened his mouth, then closed it. Panic filled his eyes. That was taken out of context, he stammered. What context justifies wishing your mother dead? I asked, tears flowing freely. Mom, I don't want you to die. Of course not, I said. But you want my house. My money. Everything I have left. That's different. No, it's not different. You robbed me. You lied to me. You exploited me. You were hoping I'd die so you could take what little I own. Arthur regained control. We have all documentation from the bank, $42,000 fraudulently withdrawn from Ms. Hayes' accounts in the last 2 years. Unauthorized transfers, inexplicable withdrawals, charges for services she never contracted. I was managing her finances because she asked me to. Gregory shouted desperately. Managing finances does not mean stealing, Arthur said coldly. And it certainly does not include opening unauthorized credit accounts. Michelle collapsed onto the sofa, dramatic sobs spilling out. I can't believe you're doing this to us after everything we sacrificed for you. We live in this horrible house to take care of you. We left our lives to be here. This horrible house that you wanted to steal from me, I thought. We weren't trying to steal it. Michelle screamed. We were securing our future. At my expense, I said. Arthur interjected. You have 2 options. First, return every stolen cent plus interest, leave this house immediately, and sign a legal agreement acknowledging the fraud and accepting a repayment plan. No criminal charges filed. Second. Gregory's voice was dead. The second? We file criminal charges. Fraud, forgery, elder abuse. You face 5 to 15 years in prison, criminal records, ruined lives. A suffocating silence followed. Michelle spoke first. We don't have $42,000. Not even close. Then start getting it, Arthur said. Sell everything bought with stolen money, clothes, shoes, electronics. That won't cover it? Then get real jobs. 2 jobs, if necessary. Pay monthly until the debt is fully covered. You have until noon tomorrow to choose. Option 1 or option 2, Arthur said firmly. Gregory slumped into a chair. Small, defeated, nothing like the boy I had raised. Mom, he whispered, voice broken. Are you really going to do this? Destroy your own son? Destroy yourself, Gregory, I said quietly. I am only protecting myself. You are my son, but a son doesn't steal from his mother, doesn't wish her dead, doesn't treat her like garbage. You loved my money. You never loved me. Gregory started to cry. Real tears. Sobs of a man who finally understood he had lost everything. I felt a flicker of the old love I had for him, the boy I had cradled, cared for, sacrificed for. I wanted to hug him, to make it all okay. But the new part of me, the part that had awakened in that hospital, knew the truth. If I yielded now, it would never end. You have until noon tomorrow to decide, Arthur reminded. Option 1 or option 2. But you are leaving this house, either way. Today? Today? Michelle shrieked. Where are we supposed to go? That is not my problem, I said. Just as it hadn't been her problem where I slept when they took my room. Arthur produced final papers. This is an immediate eviction notice. 2 hours to pack and leave. This is illegal. Michelle screamed. It is not. This is Ms. Hayes's house. You are unauthorized occupants. Legally, I can call the police to escort you out now. Gregory looked at me, pleading. Mom, please. I said nothing. I couldn't. Beverly stepped closer, taking my hand. Her silent support made me strong. Time is running, Arthur said, checking his watch. 2 hours. Michelle ran upstairs. Gregory followed more slowly, glancing at me one last time. In his eyes, rage, fear, pain, but no genuine remorse. That told me everything I needed to know. The next 2 hours were torture. Drawers slammed, closets emptied, screams, broken objects. Beverly, Arthur, and I stayed in the living room, ensuring they didn't take anything that didn't belong to them. Are you okay? Beverly asked, squeezing my hand. I wasn't. I was shattered, but also, reclaiming my dignity. I'll be fine, I whispered. 40 minutes later, Michelle came downstairs dragging a suitcase, her face red from crying, or perhaps rage. Probably both. I need to get things from the kitchen, she muttered. My utensils, my dishes, I said firmly, standing my ground. The dishes belong to this house. You are not taking anything that was here before you arrived. Michelle's eyes blazed with hatred. You miserable old woman. You ruined your son's life. You ruined him as a child with your poverty. And now you ruin him as an adult with your selfishness. Her words were meant to hurt, to make me doubt myself, to destroy me. But they no longer had power. No, I said steadily. You ruined your own lives with your choices. I'm just protecting myself. Michelle let out a hysterical laugh. Protecting? From what? From your own family? You'll end up completely alone, Eleanor. That's who you are, a bitter old woman who pushes everyone away. I'd rather be alone than surrounded by thieves, I replied. In a fury, Michelle swung open the fridge, her labeled fridge, and began stuffing it with wine, cheeses, meats, every last luxury she had claimed as hers. This is mine. I bought this with my money. Go ahead, I said calmly. Take it all. Arthur meticulously documented every movement, taking photos, making notes. Gregory came down the stairs dragging 3 heavy suitcases, looking as if 10 years had been shaved off his life in just 2 hours. Mom, for the last time, reconsider. We're family. Family doesn't steal. We made mistakes, yes, but we can fix this. Give me a chance. I gave you thousands of chances. You wasted them all, I said. He started carrying the suitcases toward the door. Michelle continued emptying the fridge, determined to take every last item. When she finished, the fridge was completely bare, save for the labels, Shelley. Shell. Reminders of her arrogance. Where will you go? Beverly asked gently. We have friends, Michelle spat bitterly. People who actually appreciate us, unlike this woman. Then go with those people, I said. Who appreciate you? 3 more trips followed, clothes, shoes, electronics, the giant TV they had bought. Each time, they loaded the car. On the last trip, Gregory paused at the door and looked at me one final time. One day, you'll regret this, Mom. When you're alone in this empty house. When there's no one to take care of you. When you realize you needed us. I don't need you, I said quietly. I never did. I just needed you to respect me, and you never did. Michelle walked past him carrying the last bag. Let's go, Greg. This place smells like poverty and resentment. Gregory followed her. The car drove away, loaded with their stolen luxuries, disappearing around the corner. And just like that, after a year-long nightmare, they were gone. My legs gave out. I sank onto the sofa as tears streamed down my face. But these weren't tears of sadness, they were tears of liberation, relief, and pain, all tangled together in deep, primal sobs. Beverly hugged me. It's over. They're gone. You did the right thing. Arthur nodded. I know it hurts, but you did the right thing, Eleanor. I cried for 10 minutes, releasing years of humiliation, pain, and silent abuse. When I finally calmed down, I looked around the house. It was a mess, open drawers, scattered belongings, traces of their presence everywhere. But it was mine again. What happens now? I asked. Arthur opened his briefcase. Now we wait for their decision. By noon tomorrow, we'll know if they choose option 1 or option 2. If they don't respond, we proceed with criminal charges. The bank will file its own fraud complaint. This is very serious. I nodded. Part of me hoped Gregory would do the right thing, admit his guilt, repay what he stole, try to redeem himself. But deep down, I knew the truth. Gregory and Michelle only regretted being caught, not what they had done. Beverly stayed with me that night. She wouldn't let me be alone. We made dinner, tidied the house, and talked about everything but the trauma of the day. When I finally went to sleep, for the first time in a year, I slept in my own room. The sheets smelled faintly of Michelle's perfume, but it was my space. I changed them, opened the windows, cleaned away their traces, and finally felt something I hadn't felt in years, peace. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the window. Beverly was in the kitchen making breakfast. Morning. How did you sleep? She asked. Better than I have in months, I answered honestly. We had a simple breakfast, eggs, toast, coffee. Do you think they'll respond before noon? I asked. Beverly shrugged. I don't know. But if they don't, Arthur is ready to proceed. The hours dragged by. 10:00. 11:30. At 12:12, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello, Mom? Gregory's voice sounded hollow, exhausted. What do you want? I need to talk to you. I can come to the house. Just me. Michelle stayed where we are. I looked at Beverly. She nodded. Come, I said, but Arthur will be present. Gregory arrived 15 minutes later. He looked defeated, deep bags under his eyes, wrinkled clothes, uncombed hair. We sat in the living room. Arthur had his notepad ready. I accept option 1, Gregory said immediately. You will sign the agreement, Arthur asked. Acknowledge the fraud. Commit to repaying everything? Yes. Everything. But I need time. I don't have the money right now. How much do you have? Arthur asked. None. 0. We spent it all. Arthur did quick calculations. $42,000 plus 5% annual interest, approximately $47,000. If you pay $500 a month, it will take nearly 8 years. I don't have a job. I can't commit to $500 right now, Gregory admitted. Then get a job. 2 jobs if necessary. Non-negotiable. Gregory ran his hands over his face. Michelle had left him. When I told her I would accept option 1, she called me a coward and left. I don't know where she is. I feel nothing for her. That's between you and her. The agreement is with you. She will face her own legal process. Gregory looked at me. Mom, I'm sorry. Really sorry. I'm not interested in apologies, I said. I'm interested in you paying back what you stole. I will. All of it. I swear. Arthur handed him the papers. Sign here, here, and here. His hand trembled as he signed. You will pay $300 per month until you secure stable employment, then $500. First payment in 30 days. Miss a payment, we file criminal charges immediately. Understood? Gregory nodded silently. Anything else? I asked. Can we ever fix this? Our relationship? I looked at him. My only son, the baby I carried, the boy I raised, the man who betrayed me? I don't know, Gregory. Honestly, I don't know. He stood slowly, walked to the door, and paused. I love you, Mom. I know you don't believe it, but I love you. I said nothing, letting him leave. When the door closed, I exhaled, releasing a year's worth of tension. That's it, Arthur said. He's legally bound. Michelle? She will face her own consequences. The bank will pursue her for the fraudulent cards. She won't escape. Justice was in motion. Slow, but inevitable. 3 months had passed since that day, 3 months of rebuilding, of healing, of learning to live again. Gregory made the first payment, exactly $300. It arrived via bank transfer, silent and unadorned, just the money. He paid the second and the third month as well. We didn't talk. We didn't see each other. There was only that monthly transfer, arriving punctually, a quiet proof that he was at least trying to make amends for what he had destroyed. Michelle, on the other hand, disappeared completely. The bank initiated legal action against her. There was a warrant for her arrest, but no one knew where she was. She had likely fled, another city, another state. I didn't care. As long as she didn't return, she could be anywhere. The house slowly became mine again. Beverly helped me redecorate. We painted the walls a warm cream color, added curtains with delicate floral patterns, and rearranged the furniture. The new fridge, the one with Michelle's labels, I sold to a neighbor for a good price. With that money, I bought plants for the garden, roses, lavender, sunflowers. My old fridge stood alone in the kitchen, as it always should have. I filled it with foods I enjoyed, fresh fruits, vegetables, and a piece of pie on Sundays. Beverly became more than a neighbor, she became family, the family I chose. We shared tea every afternoon, walked in the park on Saturdays, and watched old movies on Sundays. You know what the best part is? She asked one day as we watered the plants together. You got your smile back. She was right. I had started laughing again, feeling genuine joy. The bank returned part of the stolen funds, $18,000 after the investigation. The rest would come through Gregory's payments over the next few years. With that money, I repaired the things in the house that had been broken for years, the leaky roof, the plumbing, the garage door. Practical things that gave me peace of mind. I also set aside some for emergencies. I had learned my lesson. I would never be financially vulnerable again. Arthur still visited occasionally, always professional, yet warm. He helped me organize my legal documents, crafting a protected will that no one could manipulate. Your house will go to whoever you decide, he explained. And I put protections in place so that no one can change this without your physical presence and a mental capacity evaluation. Thank you, Arthur. For everything, I said. It's an honor to help you, Ella Laner. You are stronger than you realize. Perhaps he was right. I had discovered a strength I didn't know I possessed, the strength to set boundaries, to say no, to protect myself. 4 months after everything, I was pruning the roses in the garden when a car pulled up. My heart raced. Gregory? Michelle? But no, it was a young woman in her 30s, holding the hand of a small child. Miss Hayes, she said timidly. Yes, that's me, I replied. My name is Naomi Bell, she said, taking a deep breath. This is hard. I'm Gregory's new girlfriend. The world seemed to pause. He told me everything, Naomi continued softly. About what he did, how he hurt you. I wanted you to know he's changing. He has 2 jobs now. He's paying his debts. He's going to therapy. Truly trying to be better, for his son. I looked at the child. He was about 4, with big, curious eyes. You're my grandma, he said. My heart broke and healed at the same time. Yes, little one. I'm your grandma. Naomi smiled. You don't have to decide anything now. I just wanted you to know. They left after a few minutes, but the encounter lingered in my mind. Could I ever forgive Gregory? I didn't know. The betrayal had cut deep. But now there was a grandson, innocent, untainted. That afternoon, Beverly found me crying. I told her everything. What are you going to do? She asked. I don't know, I admitted. Part of me wants to close that door forever. The other part remembers that Gregory was a good boy once, before everything went wrong. You don't have to decide today or tomorrow. Take your time. And I did. 2 months later, on my 69th birthday, I received a letter. Handwritten. Several pages long. From Gregory. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He didn't justify himself. He simply shared his journey, his therapy, his work, his relationship with his son, his regrets. At the end, he wrote. I don't expect you to forgive me, Mom. I don't deserve it. I just want you to know that every day I try to be the man you raised, the one who was lost for so long. I love you. I have always loved you, even if my actions said the opposite. I placed the letter in a drawer. I didn't respond. I wasn't ready, but I didn't throw it away. Another month passed. Beverly organized a small party at my house, neighbors, friends from her book club. Laughter filled the rooms, human warmth surrounded me. For the first time, I realized I wasn't alone. Michelle had said I would end up alone. She was wrong. I was surrounded by real affection, genuine respect. That night, after everyone left, I sat in my room. My room. My house. My home. I thought about the journey, from that horrible night when I returned from the hospital to the humiliation, the abuse, the betrayal, to this moment, free, dignified, at peace. I had learned so many difficult lessons. Love cannot come with conditions. Family isn't just blood. Setting limits isn't selfishness, it's survival. Asking for help isn't weakness, it's courage. I deserved respect. My life had value. My well-being mattered. And most importantly, I had learned, it's never too late to defend yourself. Never too late to reclaim your dignity. I took my phone and wrote a short message. Gregory, I received your letter. I'm not ready to see you yet, but I would like to meet Bernard formally when we are both ready to talk as adults. No lies, no manipulation, just honesty. Think about it. I sent it before I could regret it. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. Maybe it never would be complete. But it was a first step. Something. His reply came within minutes. Thank you, Mom. Whenever you're ready. No pressure. I love you. I turned off the phone and looked out the window. The moon shone over the garden. The flowers I planted swayed in the night breeze. Tomorrow would come, with challenges, joys, surprises. But I would face it from a different place, from my strength, from my peace. I had learned the most important lesson of all: true family isn't the one that makes you feel small. Real love doesn't exploit, it supports. And sometimes, the greatest courage is simply saying enough. That night, I went to sleep feeling something I hadn't felt in years: hope. Not hope to return to the past, that past was dead, but hope to build a future. A future where I mattered. Where my voice was heard. Where my boundaries were respected. And as I drifted off, I smiled. Because finally, after all that time, I had come home, not to a house, but to myself. And that was the greatest victory of all.